Welcome to Rare Breed Brotherhood. Power is never lost. It's either hidden, wasted, or fully owned. There are Sigma males walking this world who don't even realize just how much quiet force they carry. You feel things others don't. You think in ways they can't follow. And yet, you've been shrinking yourself, pulling back, dimming that intensity, because the world taught you to stay small unless you shout loud. But here's the truth. You were never meant to blend in or play nice with shallow waters. You were built for deep places. The Sigma male isn't about rebellion for attention or silence for mystery. It's about knowing who you are even when no one is clapping. And that's what separates the ones who hide their power from the ones who own it. One is still battling the weight of his own potential. The other has accepted it, sharpened it, and walks like someone who doesn't need to prove anything. Because the proof is in the way he moves, the way he sees through nonsense, and the way he builds without needing a spotlight. If you're still hiding, that's okay. Maybe you've been surviving. But understand this. You were not built to sit in the shadows out of fear. You were built to use the shadows as cover while you change everything. Quietly, intelligently, unapologetically. The moment you stop fearing your power is the moment you start owning it. And when that happens, nothing around you stays the same. Let's dive in rare breeds. Number one. One is exhausted by his own potential. The other is energized by it. Some men carry so much within them that it starts to feel like a curse. The hidden Sigma male is that man. He knows he sees deeper than most. He understands systems, people, patterns, and motives without trying. But instead of using that awareness, he questions it. He thinks too much. He wonders if he's enough. He keeps replaying what could go wrong. And in that hesitation, his potential begins to weigh him down like a heavy coat on a hot day. This kind of man lives with silent exhaustion. Not from effort, but from unused strength. He's tired because he's holding back everything he could be. He's constantly second-guessing himself, asking if the world is ready, if he's good enough, if he's too much. Meanwhile, time moves. Opportunities fade, and he stays stuck in his head, haunted by what he knows he can do, but won't. But the Sigma male who owns his power, he operates on a different frequency. He doesn't wait for clarity. He knows clarity comes through action. He feels the same weight, but instead of carrying it, he channels it. Every bit of his potential becomes fuel. He doesn't shout about it. He doesn't need applause. He builds in silence, trusts his vision, and moves even when the road ahead is foggy. The difference is mindset. One sees his depth as a burden. The other treats it like a fire. One burns out from overthinking. The other burns clean because he's in motion. If you're the first type, know this. Your exhaustion is not from lack of energy. It's from keeping everything inside. You're not tired of the world. You're tired of holding back your own power. Let it out. Start small. Move forward. Let your potential breathe. You'll be shocked by how alive you start to feel when you stop resisting what's already inside you. Number two. One waits for permission. The other moves in silence. Some men spend their lives waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for someone to notice them, waiting for a sign that it's finally their turn. The hidden Sigma male falls into that trap. He has the vision, the skill, the instinct, but he keeps holding back. Maybe he doubts himself. Maybe he's still carrying the fear of being misunderstood or criticized. So he waits. And while he waits, the clock keeps ticking and nothing around him changes. He tells himself he's being smart, strategic, patient, but deep down, he's stuck. Because truthfully, he's waiting for permission. Permission to take up space. Permission to move. Permission to be what he already knows he is. And that permission? It never comes. Now, the Sigma who owns his power, he doesn't wait. He doesn't ask if it's his turn. He moves, quietly, purposefully. He understands that the world rarely hands out invitations to greatness. So he writes his own. He doesn't look around to see who's watching or who approves. He makes decisions in silence and lets results do the talking. He's not careless, he's calculated. Every step is intentional, but none of it is delayed by fear. He builds momentum when no one's paying attention, and by the time people notice, he's already 5 steps ahead, too far along to be stopped. This is the difference. One man is hoping for a green light. The other realizes the light was always inside him. If you find yourself waiting, stop. No one is coming to give you permission. You're not here to be validated. You're here to execute. You don't need a signal, you need to decide. Move in silence, build without noise, trust your vision. Let your actions speak louder than anyone's approval ever could. Number 3, one hides behind logic. The other uses intuition like a weapon. There's a certain kind of Sigma male who knows everything, on paper. He's sharp, analytical, and detail-oriented. He runs scenarios in his mind like simulations, calculating every possible outcome before making a move. But here's the trap. He never moves. He hides behind logic, convincing himself that if he just gathers more data or waits a little longer, he'll make the perfect decision. In reality, he's paralyzed by fear dressed up as intelligence. That's the hidden Sigma. He thinks the goal is to always be right. He overanalyzes, second-guesses, and buries his instincts under a mountain of what-ifs. And while he's busy thinking, life keeps happening, without him. Now, the Sigma male who owns his power, he's not careless, he's not impulsive, but he understands that logic has limits. He knows when it's time to stop calculating and start feeling. He can walk into a room and read it without a single word being said. He senses tension, motives, intentions, and he trusts that gut feeling without needing to explain it to anyone. His intuition is not some soft idea. It's a weapon. It slices through noise and distractions. While others are still arguing facts, he's already positioned himself for the win. He makes moves people don't understand until it's too late to stop him. This isn't about ignoring logic. It's about knowing when to let instinct take the lead. The ones who own their power don't just think, they feel deeply, and then strike with purpose. If you're always thinking but never doing, you're not being smart. You're hiding. And hiding won't get you anywhere. Learn to trust what you already know inside. Your intuition isn't random. It's built from every pattern, every experience, and every silent observation you've made. Use it, own it, let it guide you to places your logic would never dare to go. Number 4. One waits for permission, the other moves in silence. Some people spend their whole lives waiting for the right moment, waiting for someone to tell them it's okay to move, waiting for a green light that never really comes. That's where the hidden Sigma male gets stuck. He has potential, no doubt. He sees things differently. He thinks deeper, but he hesitates. He overthinks. He wants to be sure before he acts, so he keeps holding back, convincing himself that timing is everything, not realizing that he's actually giving time away. And while he's still debating whether he's ready, the Sigma who owns his power is already building in silence. He doesn't wait for permission. He understands that no one hands out greatness. You have to take it, quietly, strategically, and without asking. He doesn't announce what he's doing. He just does it. No explanations, no validation needed. He moves when no one is watching and keeps going when no one believes in him, because belief is not what he needs, momentum is. The hidden Sigma wants signs. The powerful Sigma leaves evidence. He knows there's no perfect time. He knows the world doesn't slow down for anyone's doubts. So instead of waiting for the stars to align, he learns how to walk through the dark and make things happen anyway. This is the difference. One man hopes someone will notice his worth. The other quietly proves it to himself. If you're still hesitating, ask yourself this. What exactly are you waiting for? The truth is, no one is coming to save you. No one is coming to hand you the life you want. The ones who create real change do not wait. They build in silence, in private, with no need to be seen. Stop waiting for permission. You were not born to be approved. You were born to act, so act. Number 5. One hides behind logic. The other uses intuition like a weapon. There's a certain kind of Sigma male who's highly intelligent, thoughtful, and calculated. He studies everything, reads people, situations, outcomes. He weighs every option with extreme care. Sounds smart, right? But here's the catch. He rarely takes action. He overanalyzes everything to the point where nothing ever moves. He calls it strategy, but deep down, it's fear. He's not really planning, he's hiding, behind logic, behind the idea that more information will somehow erase all risk. This is the hidden Sigma, sharp but stuck, aware but frozen. He convinces himself that holding back is wise, but all he's really doing is delaying growth, progress, and power. Now look at the Sigma who owns it. He's also smart, but he's not trapped in thought. He uses logic when needed, but when the moment comes, he listens to something stronger, his intuition. That internal signal that doesn't shout, doesn't argue, just knows. And he trusts it, every time. He walks into a situation and doesn't need every detail spelled out. He picks up energy, reads subtle shifts, and senses exactly when to strike or step back. His gut isn't wild guessing. It's experience in motion. It's all the hours of quiet observation turned into instinct. And when he moves with clean, ruthless precision. No noise, no hesitation, just clear, confident action. The difference? One is trying to be perfect. The other knows power comes from movement, not certainty. If you're caught in endless thinking, step back and ask yourself, what are you really afraid of? Because chances are your gut already knows what to do. The question is whether you're ready to trust it. Thinking is useful, but trusting yourself? That's when things really start to change. Use your instinct, sharpen it, and let it cut through the noise like a blade. Number 6. One is a ghost in the system. The other rewires the system without a sound. Some Sigma males move so quietly, the world barely notices them. They don't crave attention, they don't play the social game, and they definitely don't waste energy trying to fit into broken systems. But not all silence is power. Some disappear into the background because they've given up. They become ghosts in the system, present but not felt, intelligent but unused, capable but frozen. These are the hidden Sigmas. You know they're sharp, you know they see things others don't, but their presence fades because they've convinced themselves that staying invisible is safer than being misunderstood. They vanish not because they're weak, but because they've been burned. So they retreat, they coast, they disconnect. The system keeps running, and they drift inside it, ghosts with unrealized potential. Now the Sigma male who owns it, he's just as quiet. He stays out of the spotlight too, but the difference is he's not fading. He's building. He's not running from the system. He's rewriting it from the inside. While the world sleeps, he's moving pieces, learning how things work, breaking what doesn't, and silently shaping what comes next. He doesn't leave obvious marks, no big speeches, no need for credit. But if you look close enough, you'll see his fingerprints on the shift. He's the one who changes the direction without making noise, and only the truly observant will ever realize it was him. This is what separates the ghost from the architect. One disappears out of fear. The other operates in the shadows with intention. One becomes part of the background. The other becomes the quiet force behind the change everyone feels but can't explain. If you've been hiding, ask yourself, are you vanishing or are you working in silence? One leads to regret. The other builds legacies. Choose wisely. Number 7. One seeks to be understood. The other is at peace with being misunderstood. There's a kind of quiet frustration that lives inside the Sigma male who hides his power. He doesn't want the spotlight, but he secretly wants to be seen. Not loudly, not with applause, but just enough for someone to say, I get you. He hopes people will notice the depth of his thinking, the reasons behind his silence, the layers he never says out loud. When they don't, it stings. And slowly, that desire to be understood becomes a hidden weakness. He starts bending just a little, softening his edges, dropping subtle hints, hoping someone will finally see what he sees in himself. But here's the truth. The need to be understood is still a form of seeking approval. Now flip the script. The Sigma who owns his power. He couldn't care less if you get him or not. He doesn't explain himself. He doesn't translate his mindset to make others comfortable. If his thoughts are too complex, if his silence makes you uneasy, if his path doesn't fit your expectations, that's not his problem. That's yours. This Sigma thrives in mystery. He understands that not everyone is supposed to understand him. His depth isn't up for public consumption. His choices don't need to be explained. He moves through life knowing that confusion from others is often a sign he's operating on a level they can't reach. And that's fine. The difference is this. One adjusts himself, hoping for connection. The other stands firm, knowing the right people will never need an explanation. If you're craving to be understood, check your reasons. Are you hoping for recognition? Or are you trying to prove your worth to people who were never meant to see it? Not everyone will get you, That's the point. And the moment you make peace with that is the moment you step into your real power. Number 8. One learns in silence, the other builds in it. Silence can mean many things. Some use it to disappear, others use it to become unstoppable. The hidden Sigma male often lives in his head. He reads, observes, absorbs everything like a sponge. He's always learning, always thinking, always processing. And on the surface, that looks impressive. But here's the issue. He never leaves the thinking stage. He keeps stacking knowledge, but never turns it into action. He convinces himself he's being productive, but deep down, he's just hiding behind preparation. He fears making the wrong move, so he makes none. He stays silent, not out of power, but out of uncertainty. Now the Sigma who owns his silence, different story. He's quiet too. But while the world assumes he's idle, he's building. Every day, every hour, he's creating something that nobody sees yet. A plan, a structure, a strategy, a system. He doesn't need to talk about it. He doesn't announce progress. He doesn't chase applause. But brick by brick, in complete silence, he's building a world that will eventually be impossible to ignore. The difference? One collects tools, the other uses them. One is preparing, the other is producing. A lot of people admire the quiet thinker. Fewer understand the silent builder. But when results show up, when the impact becomes real, you know exactly who was just thinking and who was quietly becoming a force. So ask yourself, are you learning just to feel busy? Or are you building something that will speak for you when you're done? Because silence alone isn't power. What you do with it is. Number 9. One avoids the spotlight, the other controls it from the shadows. Some Sigma males say they don't want attention, that they prefer to stay behind the scenes, that the spotlight isn't for them. And sometimes that's true. But often, that quiet is not strength, it's fear. Fear of being seen too clearly. Fear that if the world looks too closely, they'll find cracks. So they stay in the dark, not out of strategy, but out of insecurity. That's the hidden Sigma. He avoids the spotlight not because he's above it, but because he's afraid of what visibility might demand. He's afraid of judgment, of pressure, of being asked to deliver. So he hides behind words like low-key and private, while silently battling doubt. Now look at the Sigma who truly owns his power. He avoids the spotlight too, but for a different reason. He doesn't fear it. He simply doesn't need it. He knows how energy works, how influence spreads, and how to steer a room without ever standing center stage. He controls the spotlight without standing in it. He understands that power isn't always in being seen. It's in pulling the strings that others don't even know are there. This Sigma knows exactly when to step in and when to disappear. He doesn't reject visibility because he's scared. He controls it like a dimmer switch. He knows when to glow and when to vanish. He's not hiding. He's managing the game from behind the curtain, shaping outcomes while others are still trying to grab the mic. That's the difference. One avoids the spotlight because he doesn't believe he can handle it. The other steps back because he already knows he can. He just chooses not to waste his power proving it. If you say you don't want attention, ask yourself why. Is it clarity or fear? Because true power doesn't fear being seen. It just doesn't need to be. Number 10. One thinks he's hiding. The other knows he's just not meant to be seen often. Some Sigma males confuse their absence with power. They disappear, stay silent, avoid attention, and convince themselves they're being mysterious. But in truth, many of them are just hiding, not because they're tactical, but because they're unsure. They fear being misunderstood. They fear being seen before they're ready. They shrink their presence and call it strategy, when really it's avoidance dressed up as depth. That's the hidden Sigma. He thinks being unseen gives him control, but in reality, he's surrendered it. He's keeping himself small out of fear that if he shows up fully, someone might challenge him. He mistakes distance for strength, when it's really just hesitation. Now, compare that to the Sigma who knows his value. He's not hiding. He's rare. That's a completely different energy. He's fully aware of who he is, what he brings, and what he's capable of. He doesn't disappear to protect himself. He simply understands that he's not meant to be everywhere. He's selective, intentional. He shows up only when it counts. And when he does, the room shifts, even if no one sees him coming. The strong Sigma is like a rare storm. He doesn't have to make noise all the time, but when he moves, you feel it. His presence isn't constant, but it's unforgettable. This is the difference. One hides to stay safe. The other stays scarce to remain powerful. So if you find yourself staying in the background, ask yourself, are you being rare? Or are you playing small and calling it wisdom? Because being rare means you can show up anytime. Hiding means you're hoping you'll never have to. Number 11. One feels like an outcast, the other chooses to be unreachable. There's a quiet kind of pain that lives inside the Sigma male who hasn't yet owned his identity. He walks through life feeling like an outsider, disconnected from the noise, the shallow games, the constant craving for attention. But instead of embracing that difference, he sees it as a flaw. He feels rejected, misplaced, like he doesn't belong anywhere. That's the hidden Sigma. He carries his solitude like a burden. He hides not just from the world, but from himself. He thinks something is wrong with him because he doesn't move like the rest. He confuses his depth with brokenness. He lets the pain of being misunderstood turn into silence, and that silence becomes a cage. But then there's the Sigma, who knows exactly who he is. He doesn't feel like an outcast. He doesn't need to be included. He chooses to stand apart, not because he's bitter, but because he values his energy. His solitude is not a wound, it's his sanctuary. He doesn't chase connection. He filters it. He doesn't isolate because he's hurting. He isolates because his peace is expensive, and not everyone deserves access to it. This Sigma is unreachable, not because he's above others, but because he's built boundaries so sharp, most never get close enough to cross them. The difference between the two is mindset. One feels unwanted. The other knows his worth so well he protects it without apology. One hides in pain, the other rises in power. So if you feel like you don't fit in, good, you're not meant to. But don't let that feeling turn into self-doubt. Turn it into self-respect. Stop seeing yourself as an outcast. Start seeing yourself as exclusive. There's nothing wrong with being rare. What's wrong is not knowing what to do with it. In conclusion, power is not in what you hold back. It's in what you choose to use, quietly, precisely, and without apology. The truth is, you were never meant to be average. You see too much. You think too deeply. You feel things others miss. That alone makes you different. But difference without direction can turn into self-doubt. And that's where many Sigma males get stuck. You know you have something, but you keep tucking it away, waiting for the perfect moment, or the perfect understanding, or the perfect world that doesn't exist. But here's the truth that might change everything. You don't need more signs. You don't need permission. You don't need to explain yourself to anyone. What you need is to stop hiding what you already know is real. Being a Sigma is not about staying on the sidelines. It's not about looking mysterious or refusing to play the game. It's about understanding your depth, your instincts, your power, and then using them, quietly, thoughtfully, relentlessly. The world doesn't need another loud voice shouting for attention. It needs a mind like yours, focused, intentional, and grounded. A man who isn't trying to impress but chooses to impact. A man who moves without noise but leaves ripples that can't be ignored. So if you've been hiding your power, it's time to stop calling it wisdom when it's really fear. Step out of the waiting room. Own your silence. Own your strength. And own the fact that not everyone is meant to understand you. You weren't made to be seen all the time. You were made to be felt when it matters most. Thank you for watching. God bless you.